and really was served profoundly by the years that they dedicated to bring a young guy, scrawny, absolutely fearful of being in public, introverted, more nerdy, and into comic books and Zen koans. I mean,
What a great combo. Wow, Satyan, I got to say something. You just gave us a transmission. I was like, whoa, I stopped writing. I listen. You have, there is something that the frequency of moral authority. You are speaking from experience and from leading. So I hope that everybody just got what is like when you're called to lead, just lead. Don't think about it. You will never be prepared. I love this so much. If you're being called to lead, lead. And you'll figure it out when it's a duty of the soul to lead if you are being called to lead. Because if you don't lead, look at the word in how it's called backwards. It's called you will have to deal with the consequences.
uh,
Either you lead or you deal. And I prefer to lead and fail leading than deal with the consequence of something I didn't live. I rather clean up my own messes than clean up messes that I didn't even create it, which seems to be the narrative of the world. So I just felt that we enter like ceremony virtual on the podcast because the way you express this in my body of experience, right? My whole body got attentive. Your moral authority was like, whoa, we just entered sacred ground. And I call for anyone listening to the podcast
well,
to lead.
my sister, isn't everyone on sacred ground right now?
Yes, we
We're in
are.
we're in a high evolutionary epoch right now. All of us, all our
Yes.
brothers and sisters and family who are listening right now around the world, there is a deep stir in all of us. There's a background pulsing coming up from our depths that we all know. We might give it different names, we might not name it at all, but it's sometimes it's the pulse of the lack of true fulfillment that our soul is really looking for, but it's the pulse home to knowing that that's already present.
Wow. We are all in sacred ground right now. Wow. Whew. I'm just letting that sink in into my body, which is so true. Now I'm going to detour back into your sharing of the kung fu. I'm a Shaolin mom. That's what I say. I'm a Shaolin
I know.
devoted mom, and it's been the greatest initiatory guidance for my younger son. And I know your whole family is like, it's in the martial arts tradition, and it is so true that the martial arts, and I really hope that anybody can experience martial arts and go into the depths of the reverence that these teachings behold. So let me ask you about that, because you entered the martial arts, you were with one of the best, some of the best teachers in the world, Satya. And obviously your soul attracted that because it called you into that, right? Like our mission finds us. We think, in my experience, we think we find our mission, but our mission finds us, and it's up to us to
Mm,
say yes, right?
mm,
And then once you say yes to your mission, that's it, game over. No
yes.
matter what you do to get out, your mission will bring you, even if it demands you, like demands it, like your mother.
Oh.
I want to interview your mom. I'm so like I feel I'm gonna ask you for that. We'll call your assistant because that's my tribute to mom. I want an army of your moms for the world right now. I'm building one. So tell me about what have been your greatest teachings, lessons first that you've received from the martial arts. Because for me, for example,
Oh,
I do Tai Chi, but
oh.
as a mom of someone, a son that is he doesn't go to Kung Fu to do a class. Um, he goes to build his spirit. So I experience reverence, devotion. So how is it for you? What have you experienced through the martial arts?
Well, first of all, that's martial means the art of war, and as a naturally passive, spiritually oriented person, I abhor violence. First of all, I want to express that I always walk the path of peace, and for me, um, coming into unity, coming into oneness, coming into wholeness is what I strive for all the time. But for some reason, when I was young, I was drawn into this martial path. And years later, I really got it why I was there. I asked one of my mentors early on, on the first day I ever met him, with crazy eyes, strong as a beast, First Nations warrior named Benito Segura, one of my mentors, bless his soul. He, he, I looked in his eyes and and he had this ferocious, you, he looked like he wasn't in the Matrix, and he looked at you like you were, and, and,
Right.
and that
Morpheus.
and that you're either going to be nothing or you're going to be everything. And there's nothing that, if you're going to hang with him, you better be the everything of who you are and nothing less than that.
Wow,
That was
it
just his
reminds me of my
energy.
mentor. Yeah, that reminds me of my mentor. My mentor is Tim Grover, who
Yes.
was the mentor for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. It's
Yes.
incredible. I don't know if he would like that I say that, but he's the most spiritual person I've met. I'm just going to say that, he's like in another dimension of like Benito, it's like, whoa, what, where
Exactly.
did this, yeah. So
You know,
keep going.
it's,
Mhm.
they're living from a certain place that has been cultivated through life and experience and
Yes,
realization. So, anyways, I
yes.
wanted to share with you. Here he is. He looks at me and I go, "Why do you do?" And I look at him right in the eyes and I go, "So why do you do this?" And I'm pointing to this jujitsu, Brazilian jujitsu, right? Is the art that I'm currently studying and that he was training me in. And he points to the floor, the mats. He looks at me right away without flinching. And he says this to me. He says, "Because there's no lying over there on the mat. There's no one lying. You can't lie there. You can't
Whoa.
distort. You can't shift. You can't hide. You can't mask anything. You cannot be more than who you are. You cannot be less than who you are. You cannot get away with zero distortion of truth."
My goodness. I don't know if I'm going to call this a podcast or a godcast. Satyan. Whoa, that is so powerful, that's I don't know what to say about after that, Satyan.
Right?
We got to yeah,
And,
wow.
and then another thing he taught me was, once he was coming at me strongly with strikes, becoming very, and this is an amazing master with the body frame of a Mike Tyson, like a like a highly skilled, masterful gorilla. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
and
Wow.
he's coming at me with striking blows harder and harder, and I'm using blocks he's teaching me, staying covered, and he's developing what they call my upper body ability to withstand and stay focused under duress, right? And then in the middle of it, he says to me, "Don't brace." I was pushing my hands out. I was like bracing. It got to a point where it's just too much, and I'm just bracing for defeat, right? And
Wow.
he says, "Don't brace, embrace."
Oh, I'm making so many notes. Don't brace, embrace. Wow. Share a little bit about that process, Satyan. I just
Yeah,
felt it.
because rather than staying stuck in a fear response with heaviness coming at
Ah,
you from life, it's all a
yes.
metaphor. The idea was to don't brace for it and shield yourself as if you're going to get demolished. Quite the opposite. Take the energy, embrace the energy of this intensity. And then he would show me how to embrace that ferocity and use it against, or disarm, or diffuse the energy, or redirect it, regardless of the size of the individual. And I've applied this. I'm about 195 pounds, and I've
Wow.
applied this with, fellow teammates of 300 plus pounds, 300, 325. And these principles work on the mat, and they work in life, they work in relationships. Like you said, I believe we are, all of us, who are called to some higher vibration. We're called
Yes.
to live from a deeper place of being. We're called to unify in some way, a unique way. And it is time to scratch that itch fully. And that's, to me, what leadership is. Leadership is becoming the most humble servant of the
Yes.
innermost calling as the
Yes.
foremost master.
Oh. Satyan, I'm, mm, I'm required to summon all of my spirits and allies and energies for me to ask questions in this podcast. And that's the leadership that we need in this moment more than ever.
All
That's
of us. We need
Yeah.
each and every one of you. We all need to come together and link
Yes.
arms in unity and not see division. And where there's division, we seek to heal it with our clear vision of embracing love. And when we can't love, we learn to open up wider as a practice for ourselves and our families and for the sake of all beings. It's the essential practice right now
Yes.
when duality is being inflamed against and for a
Yeah.
thousand and one ways, 10,001 ways is being stoked in our psyche. We
Mm.
don't fight back. We embrace back. We don't
Yes.
brace for more attack. We embrace our unity.
Wow, yes, Satyan, that's such a powerful. This is a call to action. I hope everybody is making a heart note, mental note, action note, commitment note, and notes, and notes. Satya, you and I have been, thanks to you, actually, that's how I learned this body of work. It was through you. You and I have been students of transurfing, of the work of surfing the waves, of not giving over importance to the challenge. Kind of like is the work of embracing the waves as they go and collapsing pendulums. How do you feel like the leadership can be that collapser through embracing in these times that we're living? Yes, a pandemia of fear, of sorrow, of duality, of pendulums, but the emerging, what is emerging from this chaos, it's a new dawn, right? It's a new beginning. So how do you see, as Satyan, the collapse of the pendulums can happen through this active, heart-based embracing leadership?
That's a great question, sister. My friends, I'll tell you what my practice is, and this comes from martial arts, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, from this path of the warrior sage. And number one is being vigil at your post. Don't fall asleep. This is the time to be
Yes.
deeply relaxed and also fully present. Presence doesn't mean stern and stiff and exhausting, overfueling your energy. It means relaxed, yet open and spacious and very
Yes.
present to the moment. And so it's like sensing, okay, um, what must
Wow.
be done now?
Yes.
And being attentive to that, right? So that's
Mhm.
that part of the warrior aspect is being sensitive. And then I think what's really valuable for all of us then to do is, I believe everyone listening here knows what they need to do to step up and
Mhm.
as well as to step down from. If you
Wow.
really challenge yourself, there's something to step away and down from and give it to grace, to surrender. Some of those might be small things, medium sized things, big things. Doesn't matter. The size is not important. The practice of letting go of this grip of control, which our inspiration from Vadim Zeland's reality transurfing, when we're holding too far to the grip of control, we constrain reality. It becomes tight, it chokes, stiff, immovable. When we start to loosen the grip of control, then what happens is um, we can become more vigilant of what's trying to get us into more control patterns, what's trying to elicit our emotions. Now, if you think about it, almost everything on media is trying to elicit one's emotions.
Yes.
And so be vigilant with it, be present, notice. Where is this? Am I getting hooked? How do you know? Well, you're becoming emotionally riled up around something. This
Right.
means that the matrix has drawn you in. There's no either or.
Oh, Satyan, I feel so blessed just to be here. I feel so blessed to have this podcast, to have this wisdom. Let me, before you go through the other suggestions you're going to give, actually guiding points. These are guiding light points. I want to just say something from your first recommendation of be vigilant, right? Vigil with presence, with softness. I love you know how I'm a wordsmith. I am such a believer on the creation of worlds through words and through feeling.